there, we are the Authors Chaos podcast. I'm SF Rogers.
And I am DL Golden.
And today joining us is Dirk Biesinger. Did I say your last name right?
Correct.
Oh, yay! I'm so proud of me. Why don't you introduce yourself, Dirk?
Yeah, so my name is Dirk Biesinger. I grew up originally in Germany, moved around quite a bit with the family, and via Canada came to the US a few years ago. So there is quite a bit of cultural variety background there. I worked in quite a number of industries. Not going to be reciting them all, but it's 9, 10 major industries that I worked in. So there is a lot of experience there as well. All this formed, of course, a lot of life experience. And with that, a keen interest in how we humans actually interact on a social level and a societal level, as well as economical level. So there might be a few interesting thoughts in this head here because of that. I'm saying that because I am using a lot of that actually in my book series. And I also should probably mention that since about 20 years ago in the family, we have been collecting ideas to create a video game. And I am using a portion of those ideas and actually the world map and the world of that video game for the book series. So because of that, I didn't need to invent all the systems there. I didn't need to invent the world. It was basically already existing. This allowed me, when I lost my job end of October last year and had all of a sudden a lot of free time on my hands, this allowed me to very quickly actually write the first draft of my book. So the first draft was about 134,000 words. That's about 480 pages book in 7 weeks. I started beginning of November and I was done December 16th.
Do you sleep?
Yes. So I think that's relatively quickly. I did 4 rounds of self-edits and the book was published February 1st.
Wow.
Including all the artwork, the maps, everything done. So I think that's a pretty good turnaround time.
Yes.
And the finished book is 155,000 words. So as a reference, that is about as long, or the volume is about very comparable to Aragon or Fourth Wing.
That's awesome.
They're within 1 or 2% of each other. My problem that I had, and I was kind of referring to that earlier in the chat a little bit, the problem that I had is I needed to keep the story short.
Yeah.
Yes, I called it short because for a first book, you should not go much above 90,000, or if it's fantasy, you should not cross 120,000 words. I am 20% over that already. So what I actually needed to do, and I did that deliberately, a lot of the details of the world that are not absolutely relevant to the story in the first book are left out of the book. They're going to be supplied in the second and the third book of the series. So there is going to be a lot of more of the world building and how the world actually works. And how the systems in the world actually work is going to be explained. Right now in the first book, I would say the world is explained, so the geography of the world is explored and explained by about 2 to 5% of what the world actually is. So it's just scratching the surface. But I actually needed to do that. I expect this, the second and the third book to be well over 200,000 words each to actually backfill all that information. But I did that very intentional. The book series is placed. It's an academy setting, so it's school setting, learning setting, very similar to Harry Potter. From the basic idea. And as it is actually with Harry Potter, I'm going with a full year cycle per book. So I wanted to have the full year cycle in there. And because of that, I couldn't leave out that much out of the book from the storyline. So I needed to find a way how to cut it out. And this is what I ended up with. Yes, I'm still 20% longer than it should be, but I can't live with that. I'm an indie author. I don't need to adhere to all the rules that are set out by the traditional publishing industry.
That's why we're indie. That's why we're indie, right?
Yes, I'm violating quite a few of their rules, actually. So,
yeah, we've talked about that in the past. My first book ended up being about 70,000 words, and I felt like I could have kept going, but I stopped myself short because I didn't want to go over that window of what is expected from a first book. But the more people we've talked to, the more they're like, yeah, I'm just going to write what I want to write, and it's going to be the length it's going to be. I think 150,000 words is more than digestible for a first book. That's not bad.
And especially when you're talking about sci-fi, a lot of sci-fi readers are used to, and fantasy in general, are used to a longer, more wordy book than just like 80,000 words. I have 95,000 words in my first book, and I feel like I could have definitely fleshed out a lot more of the world building if I would have just given myself the opportunity to do that. But again, it's a first book. Like you said, you don't want to overwhelm them with 100 or 250,000 words of just info dump, you know?
Yeah, my book is actually a cross between sci-fi and fantasy. So yes, there is sci-fi, a lot of sci-fi in there. It's the world setting is basically a post-galactic empire world. So think about the Foundation series of Asimov, especially the TV series. It's very well done how they're actually interpreting it. Take this and go forward to actually what the Foundation is going to be building up after the dark period. That is where this book is where the book series is kind of playing in a timeline setting. And thinking about how could a society look, how could a society function, how could the human interaction, how could the human potential or humanoid potential be I don't want to say harvested, but made useful as a group and actually fulfill the potential that is there. If you look into our society today on a worldwide level, I think we're not even using a single we are only using a single percentage potential of what actually is there in the human mind power. It's a tremendous waste that I see there. And it doesn't matter where you're looking. If you're looking here in the US, 3/4 of the population is unhappy in their jobs. So they are working subpar. They could do more. They could contribute so much more to society on a global scale. And it doesn't matter which focus you actually take. The smaller it is or the larger it is, it's the same. And if you would give people the opportunity to contribute in a way that suits them best and what they would prefer to do, there would be so much more possible. And now take all that, and that is what this world is. So that is where I'm actually taking that future-looking, the sci-fi in the book there. Plus, and that was actually the very interesting conversation that was happening about the newsletter and being inundated with all channels and notifications from everywhere right now. I think everybody is feeling that. It's so noisy with an flood of information that is mostly not relevant that everything becomes meaningless. And so this is also what this society is actually doing. They are very consciously going completely back from that to really live in the moment, to be conscious about what they're doing and doing it very intentionally. So that is one of the guiding ideas of the society in the books.
I like that. That's a really neat concept that you've come up with, and it links. I can see what you mean by it links heavily into social hierarchies and things like that that exist within our world, and all the sociology things that go on. That's actually really really cool.
Yeah. And then combine that, so it's a world far in the future, post-galactic empire, and they discover dragons on their world they didn't know about. So it's combining that
Cool.
into the storyline.
And we've talked about this with other indie authors. I think it's so cool that indie authors are so ready to blend and merge these different genres. You're talking science fantasy, right? These things are so heavily tied together in your story that you really can't put it into one or the other category, can you?
No, actually, it's very difficult for me to pick the correct category for that book. There are other categories in there, but the biggest problem that I actually see with any of those categories is most of the categories, especially in the sci-fi or fantasy, the newer categories or the newer mesh of categories that is coming up, there's always a dark or a sarcastic element in there. And I don't have that. I don't have. So think about a very popular book right now, Fourth Wing series from Rebecca Yarros. Take that book and take out the brutality out of that book series, and there is not much left. So think about doing that, taking it out, and replacing all the brutality with Simon Sinek, with the positivity of Simon Sinek, with his insights. That is where I did go.
Okay.
So I don't have the sarcasm in there that is very typical in much of the genre combinations or the dark part. It's everything. I'm trying to keep it everything positive, everything way to show how it can be different, how it should be different, how we could do better as a society. That is where I'm going.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That is cool. That is really cool. So you said you started this in October, right? This story. Had you,
End of October, I lost my job. I started writing beginning of November.
okay. So were you writing prior to losing your job? Had you like dabbled in writing before that?
Not in this kind of an artistic writing. So I have developed educational materials. So I knew my way around actually using the potential of the software that I had available. So I did not have to struggle actually figuring out the software and using it to its potential. I have been using Word for, I don't know, 30, 35 years. So I've been using Word since a time when you could fit an operating system, your word processor, plus the data that you were using on a 360 kilobyte floppy disk. So, since that time, I have been using Word, so I know how this thing works because I've been using it so long, and because of that, I didn't struggle with actually the technology. So probably that helped to make it very fast and to stay on task of actually writing. But yes, it was intense. At times I was writing 8-10 hours a day and really just in it. So the moment you write 5,000 words a day for several days in a row, then it just is flowing.
On Saturday, I wrote 2,500 words and was so proud of myself because I did it before we went to Daniel's house for 4th of July celebrations. And I was like patting myself on the back. And then I hear people like you where they're like, I wrote 6,000 words today. And I'm like, yep, nope, I'm not even going to say what I wrote.
Everybody needs to work at their own pace.
Yes, yes.
It is not a competition.
Right.
Far too much in our society is actually looked at in a competitive way. It doesn't matter.
Right.
This is art. You are expressing yourself. You are going through your process. Everybody is going through their process. And that is the important part. And that is what needs to be celebrated. You get to your goal in your own pace. The important part is that you get there.
Right.
It doesn't matter when. And also, very often, a lot of the readers actually, I found, don't appreciate what it actually means, how much time it costs to actually write a book. So you're reading easily at about 200 words a minute.
Yeah.
But you are writing at 500 to 600 words an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what an author writes is in an hour is read in 2 minutes. That's roughly the translation. And that's only the first draft. Now you are going into editing and you're adding easily double to triple the time there. So basically, this means for a reader to read for 2 minutes, an author easily spends 5 hours.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, but this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then this doesn't even include the formatting, the artwork, and all the other stuff that needs to go in there. So in order to actually satisfy readers, you need quite a number of indie authors working on that.
Right.
Otherwise there is not enough reading material. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, completely agree. And what works for some people doesn't work for others. I cannot fathom getting 150 words out in that 150,000 words out in that short amount of time. My book has taken me a year, and it's been 109,000 words so far. It's crazy to me that you're able to produce that kind of thing. You talked about having a couple more books in the series. How far do you expect the series to go? How many books do you think you'll put out?
So I expect it to be 5, perhaps 6 books. So it's 5 books for the academic cycle, and then potentially a 6th book. It might be a shorter book that is not directly part of the series, that is going to be handling the time after the academy. I'm also working on a couple prequels, and I call it essays that are kind of sidelines that are supplying the sideline development or sideline stories that are not going to be in the main books. So I'm actually right now writing one of those prequels. It is going to be showing the development literally from conception to the character showing up in the book series. And so that's going to be those roughly 20 years there is going to be a prequel. I expect that to be about 40 to 60,000 words, so it's relatively short. A short, quick one.
Yeah. Especially comparatively, right?
Yeah.
So in total, it's going to be 5 main books plus several smaller books around it that kind of feed into it or deal with interesting parts of the backstory line. I'm not sure yet, especially for the second and the third book. I expect those to be much larger in volume to actually, like I said, to actually supply the world and societal structures in the world there. I actually might be doing the second and the third book in 2 volumes. So that it's actually getting manageable, because I find the moment a book is getting too big, too heavy, it's also not pleasant to read. I prefer reading in paper. And the moment you have a too heavy book, it gets tiring to read. That is where the idea is coming from, to actually do it into multiple volumes, that it is pleasant to read, to actually handle. So that
Yeah.
is,
Well, and it's cool as an indie author that you get the option to switch it up and do what you want to do with that. If you think this has gotten way too long, it's going to be such a massive book to produce that people are not going to want to sit there and read something that big. You can split it and do whatever you need to do to it. So it's cool that you don't have to worry about the red tape of a traditional publisher to fight with over that, for sure.
I would, from that perspective, I looked into traditional publishing when I actually was done with the first draft of my book. And I sent out 3 or 4 inquiry letters, actually, to agents that I thought sounded interesting and in the right area. And before I got the first answer back, so before the first of those 4 answered the email, so to speak, I had my book published independently. So I am faster from a first draft, doing 4 or 5 rounds of reviews, having a couple of folks reading the book and giving me feedback, doing all the artwork, having it formatted and ready and published before those guys answer an email.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. This is not how it's going to work. I don't have 5 years of my lifetime available to wait for you guys to get moving.
Right.
I love that perspective, honestly, because so
It's
often people will waller away trying to get inquiry letters out or get people to bite on a hook, instead of just pushing forward and telling the story the way they want to tell it because they want to really publish, when really indie authors do just as well at times than as traditionally published ones do. So I definitely agree. I love that thought.
also I took so many artistic liberties in my book that probably would not fly with a traditional publisher. So I wrote a book, a sci-fi book about with dragons in it, and this is the cover.
Oh, wow.
I like
It is, but there is actually a reason why it is so simplistic, because the society goes back and puts away with all the noise and goes back to basics, to what counts. They go back to the simple.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm reflecting in the cover.
I like that.
This would not be a cover for a sci-fi dragon book at a traditional publisher. No chance, zero
Nope.
chance. Also, I'm doing that on purpose. I actually have to look in the book. There it is. I'm looking for the exact spot.
You're okay. Take your time. We're fine.
Yep, yeah. Because what I'm actually doing in this book is you don't get introduced to any character in detail other than their name from the beginning. And the first time that even the gender of a person is mentioned is right here. There is my mom, and it's on page 59. This is the first time that gender is mentioned. This is literally the first time. And that you actually get to know your characters, their physical traits, and their gender. You actually have to go, that's chapter 12. You have to go past page 69. You need to go to chapter 13 that you get that introduction. And I'm doing that with a very specific reason. You get introduced to who the characters are, completely independent on anything physical. And then around page 69, 70, 75, you actually recognize it is different genders. Even the names are neutral for gender. All the names are neutral for gender. You can't determine by the name what gender they are. After page 70, you find out the gender, the physical traits of the people, and that there are different races.
Oh.
But you weren't aware of that prior to that. Everybody is the same. And I'm doing that on purpose. And that would not fly in traditional publishing.
Yeah,
no
it's
chance.
Such a unique way to introduce your characters. You get to know them in such an intimate way before you get all of the basic information about them. That is incredible.
Yeah. And I'm doing that on purpose. I'm doing that on purpose because, in my opinion, we should do away as a society of all that. We should evaluate everybody, on what they can do, what they can contribute. We as a society, in my opinion, are preforming characters of our kids far too early. One example, what really kind of irks me, the last couple of years, there are programs in our schools to introduce females or girls to STEM. Sorry, completely wrong. Because what went wrong is that we pushed young females, young girls, away to pursuing STEM in the first place by priming them to be princesses. This is the error that we're doing. We don't need to correct it in school to introduce them to STEM. We need to avoid holding them away from STEM far younger, at the age of 2-3 years old. That is when we are starting to really push them into roles as society, as parents. And that is the error. And that's why introducing girls to STEM is the completely wrong program. It's a waste of money because we are band-aiding a problem that shouldn't be there in the first place.
I know that's right.
Right. So, we are coming to the end here because I'm afraid we have somebody else who's going to jump in on us here. I want to make sure that we get our final question here because it's so important. As an indie author, what is one piece of advice that you think every indie author should have before they get started, or if they're anywhere along in their journey? What's the best piece of author advice you can give?
Just do it. And keep going. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. If you have naysayers around you, they simply are jealous because they couldn't do it. Believe in yourself. Keep going.
I like that.
Yeah, it's just it's straight out, and that it's so true though, because if it takes you 3 months to produce a full story, if it takes you 3 years to produce a full story, regardless, that story is worth being told, and you need to get it out there, and you need to get it out for people to see. So I completely agree. I love that.
Well, I agree with that. I think our sister-in-law has said it best: do it scared. Like, no matter how scared you are, just do it. Like, just do it scared. And because eventually bravery is going to find you. The only way you get brave is if you're first scared and can step into that bravery and be like, I'm doing this thing.
the only way how you actually can grow as a person, how you can move beyond what you think you're capable of, is pushing the boundaries. And yes, that is scary. If you're not scared, if you are not terrified of failing, you're not pushing yourself far enough. So yes, going scared, going there, this is where you grow as a person.
Yes.
Dirk, it has been so cool to talk to you. You are such an interesting person. What is the name of your book so people can go out and find it on Amazon, wherever it's at?
It's on Amazon. Right now, I'm only on Amazon, and I simply started with a platform that does everything for me. I probably will move to a more general approach sooner or later, but to get traction, it's on Amazon. It's also on Kindle Unlimited at this time, so it's Amazon exclusive. It's a Discovery of Dragons, Boreas Tribes book. And
Perfect.
Boreas Tribes, Boreas is the world it actually plays on. And it's about 530 pages, and it's available as ebook on Kindle Unlimited, paperback, and hardcover.
Okay. Sarah, if he gets that to us, can we get that added to the Author's Chaos bookshelf so people can find it? So send us a link to the email that we emailed you at, and we will get it posted so that people can find it from you. Dirk, it's been amazing to talk to you. We are finishing this off. So I am DL Golden, author of Origins. Odyssea should be out soon. I'm shooting for October, hopefully, fingers crossed. Sarah?
I'm SF Rogers. You can get Execration of Autumn on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. It is an Amazon exclusive. So if you want to read it, it's on ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Come see us at JomoCon on July the 20th. We are glad you joined us today. Thank you so much, Dirk.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
All right, that should be good to cut right there.
Yeah, perfect. Dirk, you're such an interesting person to talk to. Do you do a lot of public speaking?
No,
You're very good at it.
I'm actually scared of public speaking.
Oh, you felt like such a natural. I was like sitting here, I was like, dang, I could just listen to him talk all day long. It's fine.
It took me about 4 years producing YouTube videos, educational videos, to actually get to comfortable with doing that on camera.
You were doing it scared.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, we will go ahead and let you go. I'm going to try and reach out to this other person that we were supposed to have on. Dirk, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. And
I appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.
He was so fun to talk to. I love when we can get a person on that can just chat and talk and carry on. Yes. That helps.
We need to Nick. Send us an email. Send us an email because we're doing TikTok lives for interviews now, and I want to get you in on a Monday before you go back to school.
Yeah, we've got to talk about Under
the Water and your new banner. He got a banner, Daniel. It's pretty legit.
Nick, and I don't think you were in here. I think you might already be part of my Discord. If you're not part of my Discord, you can go to the link in my link tree and find it. It will get you, if you join the Discord and introduce yourself there, you can get a chance to win a PR box for Odyssea when it comes out. Like I said, I'm shooting for October, but it depends on when I get covers back. So
the email is theauthorschaos@gmail.com. Yeah. It's just how it sounds. Just shoot us an email and we'll get you scheduled in here.
I thought you were already, Nick, for sure. If you are, and if anybody is who is in here, if you haven't thrown an introduction in the introduction section there, I would do that. That will tell me who you are and allow